Thank you for joining The Ones Changing the World, India's first Future Tech Meets Sustainability podcast.
And today I'm delighted now to have with me Mr. Prasanna Lohar, who is the Head of Innovation and Architecture at DCB Bank. He's also the co-chair with Blockchain Consortium with IAMAI and FICCI. So Prasanna, I really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. I give a very short introduction and I would let you introduce yourself.
As a blockchain journey, I think I started my journey in 2015 when people were talking a lot about Bitcoin. And just imagine, right? I was thinking like a Bitcoin gonna be a physical coin, will come from abroad in India, something like that. That was a layman's understanding out there, right? But eventually, I figured it out in a few days. It's a big thing which is coming up through technology, so-called blockchain. That is, I started learning blockchain, started writing blogs, because writing blogs gives a lot of attraction to research around and consolidate all those thoughts and keep it in front of public through social media or through some of my sites out there. Through that exercise, as a technologies innovator, we started a forum called BankChain, which is a forum of 20 plus banks with all service providers like Microsoft, IBM, so on and so forth. There were 36 members out there. In 2017, February started, along with SBI and ICICI and DCB Bank, then other banks altogether. Furthermore, during last 5-6 years, while I am interacting heavily with the governments and a lot of startups, tech companies like Infosys, Tech Mahindras, and so on, we started a forum called as India Blockchain Forum. So I am a founding member of India Blockchain Forum, where what we are looking as an association is that how do we nurture blockchain technology with better education, better research, bringing on use case repositories for India per se, and bringing on tech companies or startup companies who will work on these use cases out here. So that is in a nutshell. In banking, I had delivered more than 30-40 digital experiences for DCB Bank. Some of them are India's first Aadhaar-enabled ATM, omni-channel architecture for bank, building complete API and a fintech stack in form of a better architecture for bank. Primarily, I am working closely with IDRBT, IFSCA, IABI, RBI Innovation Hub, primarily for a blockchain ecosystem. I am a mentor at Kerala Blockchain Academy, Idea Labs, and many more other blockchain associations who are giving helping hand to this whole ecosystem. So beautiful journey as far as the blockchain technology is concerned.
Thank you, Prasanna, for sharing your journey. And yes, I mean, you said you got into this in 2015, and from there you started writing blogs, and I guess and educating yourself at the same time, spreading out the message. And I guess that's such a great way to go about, learning about a tech which is in a nascent stage, because I think when you write these blogs and you try and teach it and spread it, I think you reaffirm and you learn better. I think that's one way to, learning and creating awareness about this technology is so important, because I guess in the coming decades, blockchain is going to seep into every aspects of our life, right from your governance to your finance industry and your supply chain. And I would definitely like to talk about that and your roles in those various organizations you mentioned you founded in the India Blockchain Forum. But I want to start with this quote of yours, which I read on your LinkedIn profile. It says, "The blockchain tech is the future of banking and finance." Now, all of our industries have run in a centralized manner, in a very opaque manner, be it your governance or banking. Since we're talking about banking, let's stick to banking. Everything is run in an extremely opaque manner. But blockchain is the technology which says it's going to create a transparent world, open world. So how does this quote sit over there? How is blockchain going to be the future of banking and finance?
Yeah, so blockchain is going to be the future of every ecosystem. It is not only banking and finance, but look at the way we have defined our whole ecosystem since last several years together. It needs kind of a traction. How do we move forward, right? I'll give an example, AD, like say example, current payment ecosystem, where suppose AD is a customer going to a shopper stop, or AD is a customer going on a Flipkart, or AD is a customer doing some kind of a transaction sitting at home on mobile phone, right? So primarily these payment transactions are done on acquired ecosystem. For example, in India, there are several banks like ICICI, SDFC, DCBs and all. So they acquire these merchants on behalf of which customers are doing transactions. So the transaction is coming from acquiring network to an association network called as a trust agency, so-called MasterCard, Visa, or in Indian context, it is NPCI, Rupee, right? And this transaction will be routed back to the issuer banking ecosystem where AD is belong to that bank, right? So that's the whole transaction. And typically when you say UPI, transaction happens seamlessly, right? Just in matter of a few seconds, or was matter of 10 to 50, 35 seconds. Now, while experience for a customer is wow, in the backend, we have put in a lot of servers. On acquiring side, there are presentation servers, backend servers, and at the associate side, there are multiple set of servers. In the issuer side, we have core banking, payment ecosystems, and so on and so forth. So this much investment we have done at every bank. Now imagine every transaction has a process called as a settlement. So every transaction done today undergoes a settlement life cycle tomorrow, which is called as a T+1 settlement. And it happens very manually. All the set of files will come from an acquiring network or an association or a switch of that bank, issuer bank, and core banking system of the bank. And this transaction will be matched, and those transactions will be settled. Then the payment will happen to that merchant where you have done the transaction as a customer. Now imagine this whole ecosystem we have created running flawless or with flaws since several years together, and which is sitting on a lot of reconciliation manual efforts. And moreover, if error occurs or some dispute occurs, then there are additional systems, so-called dispute management, contact centers where customers keep on calling and asking for some kind of a chargebacks and so on. So this is how current banking ecosystem. I'm talking about only payment ecosystem. There are other use cases. Say example, AD is a customer and gone to a DCB bank and open his bank account with a saving bank account. And AD is happy, not happy, he says, no, let me give a try with the SDFC bank. And he goes there, and SDFC banks again asks him, please share your KYC documents, so-called Aadhaar, PAN card, and so on and so forth. And AD says why it is required, but still without any efforts, he has to give that. In Indian context, we have India Stack, which is an authentication layer where we have eKYC, which is a part of a UIDS network. It has given a lot of attraction and the smoothness in this whole ecosystem. But imagine he again have to do that. And moreover, these systems are again involved for doing authentication. And same data being captured by that bank, right? All of your 13, 14 attributes of your KYC is again captured out there. Now, suppose AD wants to open an insurance, again same KYC process is there. Now, likewise, or suppose as a customer, you want to do cross-border payment, again KYC is equal, or a trade finance transaction, right? Likewise, wherever you go, your KYC or digital identity is required. Now, in Indian context or in banking context, just imagine the way blockchain operates. How blockchain operates typically for our viewers, it's a seamless ecosystem. Imagine a cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. It operates without any of these association networks, without this acquiring or issuer ecosystem, without any reconciliation and a man in between. It's completely flawless. Any data written into the blockchains cannot be altered, cannot be tampered, right? And either transaction will go through and will not go through. There is no other way by saying that there is a room of a reconciliation or settlement is required. All transactions are auto-reconciled, auto-settled immediately on the spot. And moreover, this system is a far more secure because there are no manual intervention in all the subsystems which are available in the whole network. Now, this is a power of internet where we are doing transaction on UPI and so on and so forth. But power of blockchain comes and says, what we have seen as an experience for a customer, immediate transaction, same experience offered in the backend system, which was not there in the internet system. Same experience is offered for a customer while onboarding as a customer, where it takes somewhere around 7,000 to 10,000 rupees for a bank to open a bank account. Now imagine I am opening a bank account for same person in 7 different banks. That much money I am putting onto my regulator as a combination of all these banks, right? Can I not have a system that KYC is done once at one bank, replicated everywhere, can be reused? I can save away that much INR for crores of customers. I'm just talking about 2 use cases, payment and the customer onboarding. There are more than 60, 70 plus use cases in my study wherein a bank can really work upon, like trade finance, cross-border payment, fraud detection, or you talk about regulatory reporting. You talk about, I think banks are sitting on huge of operations where these operations can be automated with a smart contracts kind of a ecosystem we typically see in some of those blockchain protocols like Ethereum and so on. So in a nutshell, as an organization, as a country, as a bank, as a regulator, everybody is looking at an optimum ecosystem for the next few years. What we have seen in Indian context, Rupee, which has come in 2013-14 in India, or IMPS, which has come in 2010, or NFS system. At 2010, we have done centralization of all those ATMs, interoperability. So we kept on doing some kind of a consolidation of all the banking platforms. UPI is one of them, right? Or NEFT is already there by IDR, it is one of them. Bharat Bill Payment, it is already there. So as a country, we are creating a lot of platforms so that ease of operations, ease of banking has to happen in the banking ecosystem. Furthermore, these ecosystem, while we are consolidating, we require quite a lot of smart operations. So there blockchain comes and take all these systems to the next level. Say example, account aggregator, which is coming up by Revit, which is RBI's arm, where they are working on this consent mechanism for many other instruments, not only for savings and current, but for lending, insurance. Every regulator is going to adopt that. So this consent mechanism will be in the hand of a customer. He will be governing his data, who is utilizing it, and so on and so forth. There, blockchain will play a major role. So in a nutshell, what I want to say that what we have seen in the past in the banking, we need kind of a transparency. We need kind of a trust in between two ecosystems. While I am coordinating or collaborating with the fintechs, I need to know what he is doing with my data. I need to know how my eKYC of my customer is getting utilized. So while we regulator have created a lot of controls and regulatory guidelines, which are riding on current internet banking, current internet-based system, current mobile-based system. Now imagine tomorrow you bring on a foundational ecosystem which says, I do not need my data is secure, operations are zero operations, and so on. So tomorrow, if you bring on another foundation technology called blockchain, it will ease out all those controls which we have created by regulator for banking ecosystem, right? So in a nutshell, blockchain gives that foundation for next level of ecosystem by removing all those operations, by removing all those fraudulent transactions, by removing all those costly banking transactions where we have to pay back to the merchant, has to pay back to the banks. So in a nutshell, at all four corners, rather 360 degree of the banking will change cohesively while we adopt blockchain with other technologies. It's not only blockchain will resolve, but it has to work closely with APIs, closely work with the mobility, web-based applications, AI, and so on. So that's how we can look at it. Banking will change. What banking we have seen in 2000 and what banking we have seen in 2020 and banking we'll see in 2030 will be based upon blockchain, where we'll not talk about any of those phone pays, Google pays. We'll talk about the smart transactions done by your car, smart transactions done by your electricity gadgets, pay of bills. It will happen automatically because that's a traction of micro payments where we need a lot of trust. We need trust between two ecosystem IoT devices. So blockchain gives that layer, which is not given by internet. So that is why I always say, over a period of next 10, 12 years, we'll have a lot of foundational ecosystems. And the way we are entering 5G variable kind of autonomous era from this Web 2 to Web 3, I think there is no choice without blockchain. Blockchain comes, I am absolutely there, welcome you all. Let's create a better ecosystem, less of corruption, less of a cost, That is how we need to look at it. So in Indian context, I must say, regulatory is very well aware. They have created a specialized entities, companies in India who are concentrating their work on these kind of emerging technologies. Like RBI have a fintech department, or IFSCA, IDRBT, NPCI. All of these ecosystems are working in some kind of innovations into blockchain space. Could be Digital Rupee, could be tomorrow's decentralized KYC, could be trade finance. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
Prasanna, thank you for explaining, how blockchain is going to completely upend the financial industry. And you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, once blockchain matures, it's not just going to be finance, but it's going to touch all industries. And you also mentioned that, it has the potential of taking all intermediaries out. How that kind of translates in the real world is something which I'm not sure about, because like I said, I mean, all businesses so far have existed in a centralized top-down approach, where even the governments, I mean, right now, earlier, the fiat currency, the rupee, I mean, when we print money, it was pegged against the gold reserve that we had. And it's not just in India, the global standard of printing money was that. But right now, today, we've come to a world where governments print money on their whims and fancies, creating inflation and so on and so forth. I'm reading this book by Safety Emerson. I'm sure you must have read it, The Bitcoin Standard, the decentralized alternative to central banking. Now, obviously, I mean, whatever you said goes against the traditional banking industry. Someone who's sitting in the bank and who's spoken about how in 2030 the entire financial industry is going to be completely upended by blockchain. I would first like you to give an example of what is traditional finance and what is decentralized finance, and how will it impact in a context for India.
I think this question is an excellent question, I must say, because everything is driven by people, right? Let's say talk about land registration use case bringing on blockchain, or voting use case bringing on blockchain, or there are a lot of government use cases like DBT bringing on blockchain, or some money coming from top-end countries to the emerging countries, right? Can we not bring on blockchain? Or the one use cases we spoke earlier, decentralized KYC, or some kind of account opening or trade finance, where a lot of manual operations are there. And people don't want to leave that control, considering they are intermediaries. I was talking with one of the use case with the textile ministry a couple of weeks back. Farmer produces wool, right? Or yarn, right? And from which it goes to another entity, they create its fabric, and that fabric goes on to the multiple transactions where intermediaries are involved, and it gets exported. Say example, initial cost was, say example, $100. The export cost goes in the range of $2,000 to $3,000. The farmer earns $100, but can you imagine the whole supply chain ecosystem, how much they are earning? So now, just beautiful thing, there are a lot of intermediaries. This is how we have created our whole world. Right? Say example, something palm oil coming from some refineries and comes to the shopping mall. The cost is the cost is around that supply chain ecosystem, whatever cost is involved. But certainly, blockchain comes and says that I will not remove intermediaries completely, but I think slowly remove that intermediaries and manual things. Now go back into 80s or go back into 90s, how we used to do banking transactions. We never had an internet-based internet banking or mobile banking. It was a branch where people used to go there and use some kind of a paper form to taking out the cash. I remember those days where my father used to send me with some pink slip, written account number, and this much amount is needed. Then I used to wait there for my number with some brass-based token, right? After so minutes, then I'll take it out the cash and come back home. Sometimes people used to call, Today my person is going to come to take out the cash. Please keep the cash ready because we need to pay out the salaries. That was the era. But the way technology comes in our life, automatically what we have seen, not only banking, healthcare, government, everybody is adopting these technologies and taking it out to the next level, right? So that is how some kind of automation is coming in our way. Now, blockchain is a foundation technologies. It will teach everybody. Most intermediaries are not required, right? And that again, it's not, I always say transformation is not a technology. Transformation is all about people. Transformation is all about changing cultures and the mindset. So coming back to your questions, it will take its own time. It will be driven by government. The way we have done demonetization, the way we have said UPI will be the path-breaking question, the way we have created a lot of specification by saying this is how we're gonna drive the process, then technology comes into the picture. Now, similarly, what we have seen at the central government, MITI is working on decentralized KYC along with some banks. Or RBI Innovation Hub is bringing on decentralized based trade finance. RBI Innovation Hub. We're talking about India's RBI's fintech arm is working on Digital Rupee, which is a decentralized form of a currency, right? So it takes its own time. It happens from top, mindset change, specifications, process, and then choose the technology, then they implement. Being blockchain foundation technology, it will take its own time, but the pace is huge if you compare with the internet-based technologies. You don't have to teach to the end users, right? It will automatically happen, and the way we have seen doing payment transaction back in 2000 or in 2020 and in 2030 will be altogether different. It will be far more secure, far more easy, far more seamless. While we move from this two-dimensional web system to the three-dimensional Web3 or metaverse, it will be more far easy, right? That's where blockchain will be there. And people will learn that we do not need much of intermediaries, but people will create those ecosystems where it will have a hybrid ecosystem. Little bit of centralization, more of decentralization, because people don't want to lose the control, right? That's a rule of a world. This is what that, as long as governments are there, as long as these physical boundaries of countries are there, right? So where we are doing these cross-border payments, we'll have some kind of centralized systems always out there. But we will use this technology to ease out that intermediaries, ease out the end user benefits, so that more and more benefits to the end users, backend systems. So that is how I can see that. Now, DeFi, we spoke about decentralized finance, right? And there are two types of DeFi companies. Rather C5, which is a centralized finance for traditional companies, or decentralized finance. Typically, we could see that there are 200 to 300 companies worldwide, wherein the market cap or valuation could be more than 150 billion, which was almost 2 billion in start of 2020. So that is how the power of decentralized finance, right? And it is non-stoppable, unstoppable. What is that we require to nurture it with better regulation and security guidelines? Because what we see, say example, in an ecosystem community, decentralized finance is operating. Those are those companies who provide kind of a savings account or a lending options or insurance option without bank or without regulator, right? And people are happy because people are in need for the finance. People may pay 16% or 20%, while banks are providing by 9%, 10% for a lending, right? Because people are in need and people want to take loan without much of a collaterals. That is how DeFi operates. But in the banking sees every kind of a digital identity, KYCs, and so on. So there are benefits of DeFi companies, less of corruption, less of fees, less of transaction fees compared to traditional finance. But the way we have seen a lot of frauds are happening, or cyber threats are happening, or some kind of viruses, and they are taking out money back, right? We have seen a lot of things with the stable coins and this and that. So what is that we see in banking ecosystem or centralized ecosystem? Any fraud happens, they are completely responsible for every money of a customer. They will never say that money has gone because of some fraud. Although it will be announced in social media, but as a regulator, they are responsible for every money they have to give back. That is why insurance comes into picture. Every bank takes insurance, cyber insurance, which I never saw any DeFi companies or crypto exchanges are really looking for that kind of a guideline or a discipline. Now, other aspect, right? There are a lot of guidelines in CeFi or a regulator. There are a lot of guidelines, and these guidelines get nurtured every now and then with all those consortiums sitting with all the banks together, right? I don't see that kind of a guidelines are coming up in a DeFi, right? So that they safeguard customer. If a fraud happens, where to call? How do we do the KYC? How do we store the KYC, right? How do we take care of a data? How do we take care of a card data? How do we take care of personal data, right? All the things are mentioned in a paper as far as a CeFi or a traditional finance is concerned. So there are a lot of things to be learned by these DeFi companies. Rather, DeFi should go and talk to the banks. We want to collaborate with you guys. Please make us more matured as far as the process and guidelines concerned. While technology is there, while platforms are there, this combination can be a lethal combination, which is a far more useful for that farmer who is doing farming in Punjab or Maharashtra or Kerala and Gujarat, right? I'll not be surprised, Eddie, in 2024, we will have some kind of a wheat coin backed up by a DeFi company and regulated by RBI, or some kind of a sugarcane coin in Maharashtra, or some kind of a milk coin in Gujarat, backed up by some CBDC or a DeFi. So companies are there, and best part of a DeFi they are innovating. They are giving challenge to the existing traditional banks. You please bring on your banks also on a blockchain or a decentralized finance, which will ease out security, transaction fees, those merchant fees. And on the backend side, it will ease out operations, more of a seamless operations in the backend. When I sit in the bank, I can close my eyes and I can give you 300 plus example, AD, where all we need blockchain in the bank. But it will not happen immediately, right? It will take its own time. Say example, we are ordering pizza or something today after internet came in 1993 or 95, right? We are happy to say that in 1993, if somebody would have said, yeah, we'll take some dabba in our hand and we see where is my food. Yeah, food is in between and something. So just imagine what is going to happen in 2035. Your drones will act as the way we are having smartphones. Everybody will have its own small drones. Whatever, right? There are immense use cases here onwards. I think that is why I always say blockchain will bring on ease of these intermediaries. Tomorrow's customers will gonna be machines. There we do not need those intermediaries, so-called people, right? We need automated ways of intermediaries. So intermediaries will be there, backed up by government, backed up by regulators, in interest. How do we safeguard this whole complete ecosystem? But decentralized way is the best way to move ahead. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining it so beautifully, and you went in so many directions, but yes, I mean, I'll try and kind of summarize. Obviously I think the centralized functioning, I think there's the people normally we take an approach of either black or white. I think there's always a middle path which one can take, collaboration, get in the best of both the worlds, rather than saying, yeah, can it be completely centralized or can it be completely decentralized? I think something in the middle will always be a path which is but through the what you were saying, there's so many pros are loaded onto a decentralized finance. There is so many pros which are loaded on the centralized finance also, though there are some minus points, because through the conversation you said that through centralized finance in your security, you write it on paper. But I guess I'm sure you didn't literally mean that. But I think the way things are going, everything is digitized, and digitization is the way forward. If the web 2.0, the metaverse, the more digitized world that we get into, the more beneficial. And obviously there'll be like another section of people who will be saying that the digitized world will open up cans of worms about security and so on and so forth. But yes, I think we getting into an exciting space now. Talking about CBDC, CBDC, you mentioned about the Reserve Bank is working on a CBDC. How how will that be different from the rupee, and what value would that add? My first question. And second, how is DCB, the bank, working towards keeping up with innovation in the digital and the new banking space? Because today, I think, almost there's fintech which is challenging you guys, there's neo banks that's challenging you guys, there's wallets, there's like I don't remember the last time I stepped into a bank. All my transaction, I mean, it's all through Paytms, so and besides those Paytms, there's big tech. Everybody is becoming a financial industry. You name it, Amazon, Apple, everybody's got getting into the banking industry in some way. How is DCB, and especially you are the head of innovation architecture at DCB, how are you preparing yourself for the future? And my first question, CBDC, how is that going to help?
Yeah, I think I must appreciate, AD, the kind of questions coming up from your side, right? It gives a concise view, right? Although I will have a lot of answers around that, but I really appreciate the way you have these questions, right? So I appreciate once again. Now, let's say the story of India, right? So if you have seen story of India, which currency demonetization, which has happened in 2016, where 86% of a currency, imagine 86% of a paper currency was recycled, right? We had another currency in form of 2,500, and this is what India has seen kind of attraction. Although that was an exercise to see where is every currency all about, right? And government had its own agenda to figure it out, right? How are we really taking care of currency? It takes some, like there are 4 or 5 aspects around paper currency. It takes some amount to print currency. There is a lot of operations to print currency, complete logistics of currency handling. In the banking ecosystem, there are specialized branches called as a chase branches. These branches hold currency at a bank, right? Not every branch is liable and asked to hold currency. And this currency is utilized for pushing the money into the ATMs also, right? So there is a complete supply chain or logistics handling for a cash handling. We spoke about traditional transaction, how it works, which has some kind of reconciliation settlement, that kind of a drawbacks. Another drawback of is while I put this cash into the ATM, imagine there are thousands of ATM in the India. Completely, SBI has its own 50,000 plus ATMs, right? Or so there are lakhs of ATMs in India, and there is a lot of this cash handling happens. And at the end of the day, there is also a reconciliation, which is called as a cash-based reconciliation system. Now, in the cash-based reconciliation system, somehow it happens, there are a lot of manual operations. In that manual operation, what happens? Some of the middlemen who are sitting as a part of a cash management companies, what they will do? They will do some kind of a management on the Excel, and they will say this much cash was given, and I had put this much cash in the ATM. So there is always a gap into that this much, and that gap is at a banking ecosystem comes as some kind of a suspense currency, and it goes into crores as far as a PSU banks are concerned. Can you imagine that much amount goes into suspense because of this because of the inability into cash handling ecosystem? That's one example. Now, digital rupee in form of a CBDC, which is India's central bank digital currency, or yuan, which is there for China, and there are furthermore many examples. Rather, in the banking norm, right? BIS, which is a non-profit company for all the banks in the world, they are working on CBDC as an agenda. How do we create a better financial ecosystem worldwide? Today, as far as a 2019 FINTECH report, there are 2 million people who may not have a bank account, and they earn somewhere around in the bracket of $2 to $4 a day, and they don't have a habit of savings, right? Similarly, there are more than 3.2 billion people who don't have a right kind of a digital identity. The way Indians are blessed with Aadhaar, they don't have. So how do they go for lending, or how do they avail for loans, right? That's another problem worldwide. So digital form of a currency which can really helpful for bringing better financial ecosystem on current internet and the current smartphone or feature phone based ecosystem. That's the one advantage out there. First advantage, I ultimately said, we don't have to print that paper currency. So it is a furthermore, there are a lot of costs around managing financial ecosystem, which is based upon paper, right? Managing this paper, ATMs and so on. So that will be do away. We cannot track paper-based currency. During those voting or election days, you have seen how paper-based currency is utilized, right? For those corruptions and so on. So anti-money laundering, right? AML Act, this and that, where paper-based currency you cannot track. Where digital rupee or CBDC we can always track. I will come to an answer for privacy later on, but certainly we can design in a such a way that we can track, and we can track based upon the consent also, right? If a customer is giving consent only for this much, then it can be tracked. So that kind of so there are furthermore lot of advantages with the digital rupee. So it will create a better financial ecosystem. So international money, IMF, right, who creates those laws or monetary policies for a regulator who manages this, how much is the money at every country level, or at a RBI level, where we are working on some of those monetary policies. Outcome of these monetary policies, like how much will be the loan rate for every bank. Outcome of this monetary policies, then what all instruments we will run in the banking, so-called savings account, current account, lending, within a lending, personal lending, tractor lending, and so on. So, or mutual fund, or you talk about wealth ecosystem like insurance and so on. So typically we have seen 18-20 types of instruments where banking works. Now with digital rupee, I can create different instruments. Imagine there was only savings account or current account way back in 30 years before. Then we have seen mutual funds, insurance, and so many other things are coming. It was only a loan. Now we have different loans, home loan and personal loan and tractor loan and so on and so forth, micro lending and so on. So with digital rupee, there it could be daily loan, it could be many more other fractional insurance. There are a lot of things can come as an instrument, right? So those are those additional benefits for bringing a. Moreover, it gives a lot of control on the finances for banks altogether. So these are all advantages of central bank digital currencies and so on. But going forward, how, as far as India is concerned, while I touch upon that fintech and API part, imagine UPI, which is sitting on a best of the best API ecosystem and best of the best card management ecosystem, which is at every bank level, right? Because if you have to onboard yourself as a customer, you need a smartphone, you need a registered mobile number of a telecom company, you need a UIDI in case you are already part of a bank, you need a card number, right, to authenticate yourself. So India is sitting on a ecosystem or railroads who are equipped for UPI. That is why we could do UPI. Or if you ask me, Eddie, let's do UPI in 2000, I will say we need internet, we need smartphones, we need UIDI, and so on. So in 2016, we had everything. That is why we could do. Now today, 2022, we have UPI already. We have BBPS already. We have UIDI already. We have PCR. We have account aggregator. We have other ecosystems from the regulators, which gives a powerful equation for bringing the best of the best CBDC. If you see, let's do CBDC without UPI, I will say it will not happen. So we have already those railroads which are giving a traction and an opportunity to experiment around retail CBDC or wholesale CBDC. So retail CBDC for you and me to do the retail transaction, peer-to-peer transactions, or wholesale CBDC between bank to bank, country to country, that kind of ecosystem. The way we have seen China Yuan is come up with a retail at a Starbucks and whatever, McDonald's and so on, or Taiwan or which has come up with their own retail CBDC. Most of 100% people are utilizing that CBDC on a fast ecosystem, FAST kind of a payment ecosystem, the way we have UPI. Or there are some Bahamas or Ecuador's. First CBDC had come up in 1992, Ecuador. So there were failure experiences which we have seen. So today, we can always learn from a best of the best experiences from Singapore and Canada, what they have done. And we can come up with some kind of a wholesale CBDC or Digital Rupee along with Nepal and whatever countries we want to get involved. Or within India also, we can create a retail-based CBDC, some experiments, right? So we have railroads, we'll keep on doing. So at a DCB Bank, so once again, right? If you look at these fintechs and the startups which are coming up in our way, right? At DCB Bank, we are also just like other banks, right? So let's roll back our story in 2016 and we say, let's collaborate with the fintechs. How do we do it? Manually? Can I take an API transaction manually out there? So we need another backend ecosystem readiness. The way we have at a country level consolidation happening, why not at a bank level? So bank level, we need a system called as a enterprise service bus, which has a capacity to work closely with the internal ecosystem called core banking, payment ecosystem, trade finance ecosystem, AML, Aadhaar, PAN. So all those APIs coming from all those core systems will get aggregated at ESB, enterprise services. From there, it will open up onto the APIs or API connect to the startups or fintechs. So we need a ESB ecosystem which can really take care of all these subsystems APIs which can be utilized by all of our startup fintechs. Now, we have seen how other banks are doing. Say example, SBI, RBL, every other bank has its own journey. So we thought of why not we, right? So it's a great opportunity. Let's work with the fintechs. So in the last few years, we have worked with many unicorns out there. We have been working with Trade. We talk about there are companies Neo, which is a path-breaking innovation we have brought in. So in 2017, I have started a nationwide program on innovation called as the Innovation Carnival. So in this program, I have interacted more than 5,000 to 6,000 startup companies, more than 700, 800 fintech companies personally. So in this program, it's an open program which helps startup fintech to apply for a lot of use cases of a DCB Bank. Use cases could be customer onboarding, better lending, or AML. There are around 40 plus use cases which will ease out or take the bank to the next level. So we collaborate with the ecosystem companies like IBM, Microsoft, MPCI. Likewise, we have more than 60, 70 partners. We have governments also partner like Maharashtra, Telangana, and so on. We have a lot of startups out there. We are working closely with the academia ecosystem. So Innovation Carnival is an ecosystem-led innovation program, which is backed by corporates, other banks, academia, mentors, and all of our partners. So we have largely problem statement use cases open up for startup fintechs, where they closely work with us in some kind of a 30 hours hackathons or some kind of a 4 months virtual accelerator. So where it gives a lot of traction for us to bring those fintechs into bank and do the innovation in many areas. Co-lending is one of the things which we are working, or we are working with some company for lead management. We are working with some startup for creating a complete straight-through account opening, remittance. So at least I can name 30 plus innovations which we have done with the help of the startups and the fintech ecosystem since last 5-6 years. Program I started in 2017. Personally, I have done 7 plus hackathons. We have done 3 plus innovation expo, wherein we have invited companies into drones or AR, VR, or you talk about blockchain, or all these kind of companies who are giving some kind of a solution to our problem statements. So in a nutshell, yeah, what is happening at India level, we want to see how as a bank can really take a part into that ecosystem and be part of those Digital Rupee or UPIs or account aggregator and so on. So personally, I'm part of a account aggregator committee, or I'm part of a various blockchain committees. where as a bank, we could see to share our own experience with the startup fintechs to the RBI, to IFSCA, to RBI Innovation Hub. So that is my agenda as a part of Innovation Carnival or as a part of India Blockchain Forum. How we can nurture technology within a bank as well as outside of the bank, so that largely Indian ecosystem get benefited out of it.
Lovely, lovely. How cool is that? Prasanna, I mean, the work that you have done over the years, we need more of your carbon copies across the banking industry, and that will accelerate the innovation in the banking space. So my last question to you, because we're running out of time. We are getting into a world which is going to be largely digital. There's going to be Web 3.0, then we're talking about the metaverse, and these metaverse, we're talking about an underlying economy which is going to be built by virtual digital assets such as NFTs, your tokens. There are already, I think, businesses are moving on to the metaverse, and there was this projection by Citigroup that the metaverse is going to be a 8 trillion to a 13 trillion market opportunity. So my first question, how is DCB preparing to participate in that digital economy, metaverse, NFTs, cryptocurrency token? And my second question is that in 2021, Deloitte had released a report, a blockchain report, 21 report, where it surveyed people in the financial industry, the banking industry, and the survey claimed that crypto will replace fiat currency in another 5 to 10 years. What are your views on that?
Yeah, so I think I am really fascinated to see how world is going to change in the next few years. Metaverse is at a nascent stage. Okay, it's a concept altogether. Similarly, metaverse will go on to the next level, right? Which will be combination of a blockchain in the back end or augmented reality, virtual reality in the front end. Could be a combination of AI also out there, right? So there are various layers where we could see how metaverse really give a 3-dimensional or a 4-dimensional effect tomorrow, right? But it's at a concept level, and people are experimenting around that, and the pace is huge. I will not be surprised Jio will announce a meta world in the next 2 years in India. And the way I know how Jio is working, they are going to certainly be one of those pioneer companies in India who will bring a metaverse maybe in collaboration with Facebook or maybe in collaboration with some other company. But they are going to bring that experience the way we have seen that Reliance phone has disrupted our telephone industry way back in 2003, right? 2003, 2002. The way data has been disrupted by Reliance Jio again in 2016. Similarly, this meta experience in Indian context will be disrupted by them. And there is an although it's a concept, it's going to happen, because as a human life we have seen how I'm going to communicate, right? I used to communicate with my interfaces with keyboard and mouse, right? Now I have become more lazy or more automated. I want to communicate them with a touch screen or maybe voice interface, right? Maybe tomorrow it's gonna be we interact with each other with some consent of a brain, and you understand what all my thought process with the brain and the computer interface. So metaverse is a reality. It's not a hypothetical. It's gonna be reality, and it will prevail for long period, right? But how do we really create a ethical metaverse is gonna be a challenge. What we have seen rise of social medias, and we have seen how fake accounts and a lot of fraud does happen. See, this is what I go back to my earlier thing, right? Current regulations, current guidelines depends upon how we have created our Web2 ecosystems, right? With the Web3, with blockchain, we have a different challenges, although we have a different benefits also. So metaverse is going to be there, but we have a challenge. How do you have to create better, safe, clean, clear, ethical metaverse ecosystem, right? Who will own this metaverse? The way internet is not owned by a company, right? It's an ecosystem owned program. Similarly, metaverse also has its own protocol. Has to be owned by everybody who are part of this concept. Then only will have a larger effect out there, right? I think that's how I am looking at. I am very much going to go about the metaverse. I have done my first experiment on a virtual reality way back in 2018, wherein I had created a experience for our customers wherein they can really wear their mobile phones in the air, and they will see where all those nearest locations of a branch or ATMs, right? That was just an experience, because tomorrow I want to create same experience into my metaverse. The work is in progress. Tomorrow's video KYC, I want to do it in metaverse, right? I don't want to do it on a mobile phone based. We are working closely with it's a confidential information. We are working closely with the company where we want to create some kind of a metaverse experience out there, right? I think so going back, the way we have communicated physically or onto this telephone network and to the smartphones, then your voice interface, in metaverse, it's a multilingual voice interface. How do we adopt, right? So although we have a multilingual screens today now, right? Multilingual movies and everything is happening. So there are a lot of challenges which can be surpassed with the technologies. At DCB Bank also, the way we have seen adoption of largely all kind of Web 1, Web 2 technologies, risk-taking banks will really work on to the metaverse. Say example, Citibank, HSBC are already working on, JP Morgans, they are already working on cryptos and so on. So going forward, as you rightly said, Deloitte report, right, which talks about crypto will be there everywhere. But crypto is just a concept, right, which is backed by blockchain, right? So I can name it as Digital Rupee or some other digital asset, but certainly most of the transactions, as far as my knowledge goes, will be on blockchain, will be on tokenized, right? There will be different types of, that's what I said, with Digital Rupee coming into picture, we'll have a largely different instruments, tokenized. So in my view, largely, last but not the least, while we are in Web 2.0 AD, tomorrow we will safeguard our Web 2, we will safeguard our data with non-fungible tokens like NFTs. NFTs, metaverse, and DeFi's, along with DAOs, right, will have a largely a future of every ecosystem. Everything has to be autonomous. So decentralized autonomous organizations, metaverse, decentralized finance, and NFTs, these four pillars will drive every ecosystem in future, backed by right databases, cloud or edge computing, or you talk about variables, IoT, 5G. Tomorrow is 5G, it could be 6G or something like that, right? Or today, which is a cloud or edge computing, tomorrow it's quantum computing. So while we enter 5G, quantum computing, metaverse will become more and more reality, right? Because it needs kind of a latency, less of latency, safeguarding. So all these combination of technologies really make that Deloitte word, right? Yeah, cryptos are going to be future. Yeah, but again, crypto backed by blockchain, backed by better regulation, backed by better regulatory guidelines, backed by a little bit of a centralization. That hybrid combination is going to be helpful for banking, healthcare, government, and so on. There are a lot to do. Like if you see our last 50, 60 years of journey, and if you roam around, right, in India, in villages, if you converse with some of those government officers, you talk to academia people, talk to students, talk to those old age our customers. There are a lot of generations, right? And we have to take care of all generations. So taking care of all generations will happen on branch-based, internet-based, mobile-based. Tomorrow it will be metaverse-based. So everything will go together, right? So, but over a period of 10 years, there will not be any branches. There will be some kind of a customer experience centers, right? What we have right today, super apps, which is on a digital world. Tomorrow, people will look at how do they converse into physical world after 10 years. They will understand now it is a necessity of a peace, a necessity of people being together. So there will be some centers where people can come and talk. Right, so imagine that gonna be the future. It's not gonna be the completely digitalization, but people need emotional support, right? People need that kind of a peace. People will buy peace, right? People will buy kind of a rest. People will buy entertainment, leisure, right? Because everything is digitized. What remains is that thing, right? Good food, good entertainment, good outing, good experience. So I think that is another business model will arise, right? So beautiful time. We have to always look at how human transformation happened since last 500, 600 years, industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, then society 5.0, which is a concept came in from Japanese people, right? So I think that's the future, right? People have to work together. People have to collaborate, smile. Although there are digital ecosystems, but I don't want my avatar to talk to my relatives, right? I would like to meet them, greet them, right? Although we have seen a lot of marriages are happening in a metaverse, but your relation goes lifelong, right? It's a real relation, right? So there are ceremonies will keep happening, metaverses, conferences will happen in metaverses, people will come talk, go, offices will be on metaverses. We do not need that real estate will be utilized for some other purpose. I think that's the future all about India.
Thank you, Prasanna, for sharing your insights about the future and about the banking industry. It was a complete learning conversation. I'm excited for the future of finance. Though I get confused with the CBDC, because the CBDC, central bank digital currency, the idea of creating a digital currency is supposed to be decentralized. This is going to be centralized, so I don't understand that. But yes, I guess, like you said, I mean, in the beginning of the conversation, that there's no black and white. There has to be a middle approach, and I think both the CFI, DeFi, they need to come together. And you also mentioned that we need to serve all age groups, not just youth, because which I think the entire big tech is moving forwards. You need to serve the young, the mid age, plus the old age, and I guess that's the future that we're looking for. So wish you and your team at DCB very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you, Prasanna. I really appreciate this.
Very much.